Ian, how recent is that replay you just sent? Because this one fucking works. Nice. We got a Minotaur game. Why are they working now though? 3 days old. Why is it working? Is it like something? I don't understand. What do we have? We have Minotaur. Matchmaking. Holy shit, you have the luckiest matchmaking known to man. Only 2 DDs. No radars. No carrier to spot you. And you use some sort of zoom out mod because you're zoomed out far as fuck. Holy shit. What have you done? Oh my god. Fish eye view deluxe. Okay, so first of all, are you going to support your Fletcher? Your Fletcher is moving and moving towards C. So the option to support your Fletcher is very significant. I would probably be following my Fletcher at this point. You got a DD that's willing to go and scout. They only have 2 DDs, only a Shima that can really outspot. And if you go and support your Fletcher, you can help him kill him. Also, they have no radar, so the risk of being killed while pushing is very low, since you can just smoke up and escape if something goes wrong. So, in this case, I would probably be supporting the Fletcher. Support the DDs, that's what you want to do in a Minotaur. You want to support your teammates. And in this case, support the DD. Now, let's see, Fletcher is pushing the cap. Let's hope no one contests him, because if someone contests him, you could have been extremely useful helping him. And yeah, honestly. Questionable decision to leave him alone, especially with the north spawn. Your Des Moines buddy is pushing down here, also questionable. Your Des Moines could probably have supported him. Des Moines could have pushed up to this island, for example, and supported from here, like shooting over like this. He doesn't need to necessarily radar support, but just firepower support. So, I'm not sure what I like about you guys spawning north and then just abandoning the camp and going south. I would probably disagree with the decision making here. I assume you plan to push B. That's your plan here. And that's actually a lot riskier than going C would have been. But if nothing contests C, then pushing B certainly becomes an option. I don't know why the Des Moines isn't following you, coming with you this way. Like a Des Moines here to support you in case you run into something, you got double firepower to help each other. Okay, there's something in B. See, this is where I would want your Des Moines to join you. If your Des Moines was with you, you can smoke up the Des Moines, and if there's something spotting you, the Des Moines can radar it. So the fact that you bring this strong division, but then you split up, I disagree with it. I don't like it. Also, if you had supported C, you could now follow the Fletcher down to B instead. But so far, there's no real risks. There's no, like, significant risks. It's unlikely they would push anything large into B, so... While I disagree with the way you got to be, going to be ultimately is not a bad decision. Shima gets spotted. At this range, opening fire. Well, if he's stationary, maybe. Yeah, I would have been hesitant to shoot there as well. Especially with the Bismarck in front of you. I would, however, have turned my ship and launched first left side torps, and then turned the... Like, I would have turned right, launched left side torps, and then turned this way, and possibly smoked up and launched this side torps. But the point is moot at this point because he's already turning away and fleeing. Okay, you should shoot now. Absolutely should shoot. Oh, well, it's too late now. But if you see him reversing, absolutely should shoot. That's so much damage. That's 45k damage guaranteed. And that's way too much for a Shima that doesn't even have an HP perk. Especially with the Bismarck who's left. There's no real risks. Also, I think you could have easily been pushing into the camp. Like... Just push right, all their team is down here, and your biggest threat is on this side, so there's nothing stopping you from straight up pushing him out and closing the distance as you fire upon him. Like, I understand people are careful, very careful with being aggressive in a Minotaur, but there's no real threats. All their battleships have been spotted down here, so you know there's no surprise battleship who's going to snipe you, and the final battleship is behind the island. So the biggest threat could have been another cruiser, but if you angle again, they have no HIV. Henry IV is the only cruiser that can overmatch your nose. No other cruiser can overmatch your nose, so all you need to do is point nose in and you'll just bounce all the shells. They do secure the cap though. I mean, farming this guy is fine. I don't mind going over here to farm the Bismarck a bit, but you shouldn't go out of your way to chase him. Note that C is being capped. There's a Tashkent up here. This needs to be acknowledged. I don't know if you've noticed it, but always look at the minimap. So keep in mind that you might want to be able to support your team. Oh, this is very risky. Did you check where his guns were? No, you did not. Okay, luckily he doesn't shoot you. His guns were aimed right your way, and that was extremely lucky that he decided to shoot behind you. If that had been even a slightly better player, he would have blapped you there. That would have been a devastating volley right away. Rushing a Bismarck, once again, if he's not very good, that's fine. But if he's good, then he's running Hydro. You're giving a bit too much broadside. I understand you want to torp. Ooh, this is... I don't know how I feel about it. I feel this is a bit unnecessarily risky, especially now when the Ibuki pops up. You didn't really know what they had here. The risk is pretty goddamn massive. You got away with it, sure. But just because you got away with it doesn't mean I like that move that much. I would have maybe waited. I would have waited until this guy fired, and then I would have pushed around the corner. Pushing around when his guns are aimed at you, very risky. Very risky. You're playing this fine. Kiting away, angled, he can't do anything. You just bounce his shells. Keep in mind, C has been flipped. Your Fletcher has left C. At this point, you could easily just go and cap C. Tashkent alone can't do shit about you. You can shit on a Tashkent. At this point, I would probably, well, sail around the island, go north, cap C, and then move down south maybe to help your team. Slowing down, I'm not certain what the plan here is. Just keep going full speed. Full speed around. How did we not cap C? No, we did not. Okay, so this is... And now you're calling them idiots because they didn't cap it. Iron. Okay, this is map awareness. Oh, they even had a Minotaur there. So, because the Tashkent has been spotted down south, or the Tashkent... Wow, okay. That was a #1 thing for all players. So important. Map awareness. Map awareness. If you didn't notice that C was flipped, like your team took it and then the enemy team took it back, that means that you probably didn't look at the minimap at all between pushing into B and sailing all the way here. So that was a good 4 minutes of not looking at the minimap at all. So that's, if I want to give you one concrete advice on how to improve, more map awareness. Much more map awareness. Try to pay more attention to it. Like when you're sailing around like this, you don't need to look in front of you. There's nothing that will render in-game that you won't see on the minimap. So you might as well stare at the minimap and use that to find out what's in front of you. Slow down and you can use the smoke. Slow down and you can use the smoke to your advantage. You're still going full speed, you're gonna get spotted. See, that was unnecessary. You could have slowed down and used your teammate's smoke for your advantage. Now it becomes dicey, because Minotaur versus Minotaur can get extremely dicey. Luckily he's giving you a lot of broadside for some reason. That means, of course, that he's torping as well. Hydra is active, that's good. Do you really want to rush him, though? Why do you want to rush him? Are you in a hurry? No, you have backup. He doesn't have backup, you have backup. You could easily slow down, even start reversing, and let your backup help you. Rushing in at this point, there's no point in it. He's probably going to trade you, because you rushed him. Can you dodge? Oh, nice UI. No, unable. Okay, in this case, once again, map awareness. You had 2 teammates here, including your division mate. There was no reason for you to rush him. You could have stopped here, stayed nose in, and just shot at him. If he tries to rush you like this, these guys get broadside. Des Moines gets broadside and can punish you. So there was no reason for you to close the distance. You don't want to trade 1-for-1 when you have teammates around. If these would have been enemies, then rushing him would have been a great idea. Because you want to trade 1-for-1 because you're outnumbered. But if you're the one outnumbering the enemy, you should have just stopped. Just stopped, slowed down. In fact, these guys probably spotted him earlier as well, so you could have just sat behind the smoke and farmed him. So #1, that was a lot of... How the fuck do they let the Minotaur around them? Well, ideally you would have been there helping at sea, and that probably wouldn't have happened to begin with. But still, though, number one takeaway from this game is map awareness is incredibly important, and it's a common thing that people need to focus on. Die, flame team, it's the warship's way. That is true, it is the warship's way. But yeah. You did ask for non-perfect. Yeah, I did. And that was a good example of, well, the biggest takeaway from that was lack of map awareness. Need to work on that map awareness. It's so important. And it looks easy when you see someone else playing. It looks easy to see the things that I point out, but when you play yourself, a lot of people in chat would have missed these very same things. Let's see, will this other replay load? I don't know, why did Iron's replay load, but these other ones aren't? Link me in chat if you got some replays you want me to watch, because this one clearly, this one doesn't work either. Why the fuck did that one work, but these ones don't? Weird. Weird as fuck. I wonder what Wargaming has done. What's the bear's name? I don't know. Wait, where? Let me switch pictures to something more dignified. Wait, which picture is this? This is Putin. There we go. My fucking Discord loves doing this shit. Let's see. Akatsuki gameplay. Sure. Let's see if Akatsuki replay works. What a humble man, indeed. Studying the blade. Teleports behind you. Liking the fedora, that is true. Okay, this other... For some reason replay seemed to be maybe working? That sounded like it was working, is it? Yeah, this replay works. Nice. I'm actually able to do some replay analysis today. Nice. Right. Let's see. What do we have here? What do we have here? We have an Akatsuki game. Matchmaking, favorable. Very heavy T6 presence. There's no radar, and honestly you can actually outspot all the DDs. This is really juicy. You can even outspot the Akatsuki. So, and there's a carrier, but you are an Akatsuki, so that's not really too big of a problem for you. So overall, very favorable matchmaking. No radars either. Yeah, this should be a pretty good Akatsuki game from the get-go. Let's see, build-wise, your concealment is 5.9, that means you run concealment expert, that's good. You got HP perk, that's good. No premium damage con, questionable, especially on the Akatsuki, because if you break engine, this thing becomes slow as tar. But yeah, seen the new battle right hero? Yeah, I have, it looks interesting. Let's see, you have a Belfast and an Atlanta on your team, and the Belfast is actually following you, supporting you. So this is a perfect opportunity to push A aggressively. In fact, you can probably push straight down and keep going this way. You'll outspot anything they have, and if something tries to contest you, you got a lot of support. So pushing A fast is the best option right here. Your Gnevny is going B. Your team at the north should just disengage. When you have two DDs and no DD spawns north, the team at the north should just move towards B and support there instead. Instead of trying to push here without a DD, it's very risky. Let's see, a lot of battleships to farm, like New Mexico and Arizona, slow with a lot of superstructure. Focus fire the squad and open up with AA. There's the DD in the cap, but that's not really too scary for you, is it? Okay, your AA is off. You should be focusing. You already got spotted, you should be focus firing. You can strip down a lot of these planes. You should have AA active. If he's already spotting you, then there's nothing preventing you from running AA already. If you're already spotted, then toggle AA on and focus fire the planes. Once he moves out of range, you can turn it off again. But a bit of a lost opportunity to get rid of some of his planes. Also, slowing down like that made you very predictable. a lot of damage taken for free. You might have even wanted to smoke up there if you really wanted to play safe, but honestly, I think you should have just sped up and opened up fire, and if you spot many, you can just smoke up. Bit too careful play. Because you gotta remember, the Akatsuki is a bully. The Akatsuki is straight up a bully. You shit on enemy deities. You absolutely wreck them. Even a Kiev struggles to deal with you. So don't be afraid to open up and just wreck them. Like that kind of safe play I would understand in something that doesn't have a lot of firepower. Like a Shiratsu, you could just sit there and spot. But when you're in an Akatsuki, then you're the big dog. I would pop damage the torpedo reload and drop another set of torps in there. You know there's 3 cruisers in there. You know there's 3 cruisers. You know there's a Kiev in there as well. What are you going to have a better opportunity than this to use your torpedoes? Unlikely. I would just straight up have used my consumable and drop them in there. Also, you should be pushing. Right now you're not scouting actively for your team. There might be incoming torps. You might be able to see them hiding in the smoke. You can easily close the distance and get closer to them. You are playing too far back for no reason. Look behind you, look on the minimap. We have 1, 2, 3 battleships and 3 cruisers against 3 cruisers and a DD. That's 3 battleships and they have none. Your advantage is monumental. You should be pushing, you should be scouting, you should be giving your team targets to fire at. This is too passive gameplay. More aggression. Also, since the cap isn't being flipped, that means the Kiev has parked behind his island. So you want to keep pushing south and spot him. You can outspot the Kiev by a mile, so you can just keep pushing south and spot him for you. There's the torps we expected. A good dodge, but then again that dodge shouldn't have been necessary, because those torps weren't aimed for you, they're aimed for the guys behind you, and you should be moving in and scouting earlier. Because your Belfast might eat one of those torps because you scouted them so very, very late. More aggression, more aggression. And don't open up here, this is not a good chance. Spot the Kiev. Make sure you maintain enough distance that you see him but he can't see you. You're getting unnecessarily close. I would move south instead of moving north, because now he's going to spot you the same time you spot him. And that negates the advantage you have. You have a spotting advantage, why give it up? By closing the distance you're giving up the advantage you have, which is completely unnecessary. Instead go wide down here and spot from here. The problem here is when he spots you, who can shoot at this Nuremberg? No one. Who can shoot at you? The entire enemy team. And now we see it. He's gonna be able to shoot, he can shoot, he can shoot. All of these guys can shoot you. Who can shoot this Kiev? Almost no one. Almost no one. And if you smoke up, who's gonna be spotting him? Well, he's dumb enough to actually reverse out, so that means you get some spotting. But if he was smart enough to just sit here, then no one would actually be opening up fire on this guy. This, I think you don't have IFHE. Yeah, this build is lacking IFHE. You will be doing more damage. You should be using AP. If you don't have IFHE and someone gives you this much broadside, use AP. Should absolutely be switching ammo type. Full broadside means definitely should be using AP. The damage without IFHE and using HE is absolutely pitiful. Like more than half your shells are shattering. AP would be much more valuable. If you're using HE, you should be aiming higher, and just for the superstructure where the armor is thinner. Finally though, you have secured the cap. You should go into the cap and focus fire this fighter plane so you shoot it down for your team. Also, this plane might spot your torps, so getting rid of it would be worth focus firing. Switch to AP. The Mogami will most likely sail across broadside like this. You want to have AP ready for when he does so. Also note that if a Mogami is pushing across like that, he's probably torping you. You need to be aware of this fact. Mogami has great torps, and if a Mogami does a turn like that giving broadside, it means he wants to torp you. Focus fire the plane. This is where you should be. Okay, nice. Now, see now the problem, because you didn't focus fire the plane earlier, you're paying for it now. Your plane spotted. If you had focus fired earlier, this wouldn't happen. And there's the Mogami we knew was there. and he resets the cap and punishes you. So there you see what happens when you leave that plane. It might not look as if it might not look like a threat in the beginning, but it will come back and become a threat later. So that's why it's very important to always get rid of any sort of threat that can spot you. Whenever you see a plane, focus it down. Get rid of it, because it can come back later and haunt you, as it did here. And now the cap is contested. The Mogami has pushed in. Your team is still afraid to push. That's a bit unfortunate. But then again, you haven't really been scouting aggressively enough for them to be able to do anything. Once again, you could go wide. Go wide down here and spot the Mogami. You can go wide down here and torp. There's plenty of options. There's no reason to constrain yourself this far back with the rest of your team. Biggest takeaway, he doesn't know his ship's strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, I mean, this is one of, like, looking at this replay, for example, this is one of the cases where I think just watching my commentary, where I highlight what's good and what's bad about the ship, would be extremely educational, because this is not just a case of mispositioning or lack of map awareness, it's also a case of not really using the ship what it's designed for. Some good fire RNG, pitiful damage though, that's of course the lack of IFHE. I would accelerate. You don't want to be like slowing down where you are if these guys can shoot you from here. If you keep pushing closer to the island, you can still shoot this guy, but these guys can't shoot you, as you see now. This is map awareness, positioning. You can easily get closer to the island and shoot them, and if they want to keep shooting you, that means they have to push further this way, and if they push further this way, then your team can shoot them. So don't make life easy don't make it easy for the enemy to shoot you. Good chance to farm a bit of King George. Good, reversing, getting some damage in. That's not bad. You have a fire. Unless you're planning on getting multiple fires, at this point I would switch to... first of all, you want to be hitting a part that isn't on fire if you're going to spam HE. So I would be aiming for the back of the ship in this case. Second of all, if your plan isn't to get another fire, but to just do damage, you should be using AP. Playing safe and smoking up and dealing damage is perfectly fine when you have this little health. You have the cap control. You are defending the cap. There is no need to go anywhere else. There's no need to do anything else. You can just defend this cap and help your team hold it. This is a winning play at this moment. There's no reason to do anything more extravagant than this. Finally, the switch to AP. Fairly late though. I think a common thing here in this replay has been overuse of HE. Using HE a lot when you have IFHE is fine. If you don't have IFHE, you need to use AP more, significantly more. And you can see it from the damage. In fact, can we actually hover over see your numbers here? No, shame we can't watch it in the replay. I'm actually interested in how many shattered shells you have, because I'm pretty sure the number is pretty damn high. Oh, this is risky. Oh, lucky that he didn't lock onto you proper. He shot before he was properly locked on, so his shells didn't go over the island. If he had locked onto you proper before shooting, those shells would have arced over the island and would have actually probably killed you. Okay, I'm not entirely certain what you're doing right now. I think you should be torping these targets behind you. You got two targets behind you that are pushing the cap, and you should be helping your team here. This New Mexico doesn't matter. This is a point. New Mexico has no impact. You got plenty of people who can deal with the New Mexico. There is no point for you to deal with him. You got a carrier on him. You got a Nagata Fiji, a Mogami farming him. Was it worth giving up your position for that, Wally? Now the Mogami here might shoot you. Was it worth letting the enemy know where you are for 4 shatters? No, it was not. Now the enemy team knows exactly where you are. They know there's no torpedo risk, so they know they can push into A, and they're also shooting you. So you need to, when you're low HP, you need to carefully consider, is the value I'm going to get out of the damage I deal worth giving up my position? And in this case, it most certainly was not. the lower HP you are, the deeper you have to think about this, the deeper you have to consider the value of what you're getting in return. In this case though, since the entire team is pushing down into this cap, you should just push north, push up here, and you can cap, you can even smoke up around here, and you can blap these shores. Smoking up right now is a bit pointless. Just push straight north into the camp, and then from there you can farm them. I would change course this way, go straight into the camp right here. You can smoke up as soon as you get into the camp, and then from there you can support your team and you can capture the objective at the same time. At least you're providing spotting, which is fine, but then again he's shooting, so you don't really need to be spotting. He could have been farming planes the whole time he was in smoke, but the AA was off. Yes, that's also a thing, of course. Two very important things to take away from this. First of all, use more AP. Way too much over-reliance on HE, especially since you don't have an IFHE. Second of all, the Akizuki is infamous for being so strong against planes. Use it. Shoot down those planes wherever you can. Third of all, you can be more aggressive. You have health, you have guns, you have power, and there's no reason to try to play it like a torpedo boat. You should be playing it like a gunboat. You should get in there, bully the hell out of the enemy DDs, and just punish them. Lack of confidence in the ship. I would say that, yes, that's something you probably get from playing it more, but overall, more ballsy play, I would say. More ballsy play. Will this replay analysis become a regular feature? Probably, yeah. I had my subs on Discord vote. I asked them what they feel about replay analysis, and people let me check, what was the vote? The vote was absurdly heavily in favor of, sub polls, or I'm sorry, replay analysis. Let's check. Sub polls. More replay analysis every now and then. Yes or no? And the vote was 162 votes for yes, 9 votes for no. So I guess we could say that the majority of my subs really want replay analysis. Yeah, I just got out of my Shiratsuyu, sorry. I don't need to apologize. I mean, the point is to learn and improve. The cap is secured now. The plane is spotting the Nuremberg. I feel like you have an opportunity here to farm some significant damage on the Nuremberg. You see that your Belfast here is spotting the Nuremberg. So you could easily push down here and smoke up. I would smoke up now instantly. You're being plane spotted. It's not worth the risk of being shot. You have 1.6k health. One volley can kill you. Okay, pretty slow on the reaction, but better late than never. And I don't think he had time. Oh, he had time. Switch to AP. He's giving you a broadside. Luckily he missed his volley. Oh, not entirely. When you're this low, you don't want to be sitting on your consumables. When you have 1k health, don't be sitting on your consumables. Because if you die with your consumables, well, it's wasted anyway. Rather use smoke a bit too early or a bit panicky than sit and die with the consumable ready. Nuremberg has such squishy armor that HE worked out pretty well. At this point there's nothing spotting you. If you want better XP before the game ends, you could straight up rush down here towards A. Full speed, speed boost active, and just rush down to A. Alternatively, you could rush straight across like this. This plane doesn't matter, focus fire it. Focus fire and shoot it down. The shores won't hit you from that range, highly unlikely, and they only have the Lexington as another target left. Is it only me lagging? Nah, this replay is a bit laggy. It's a bit glitchy. I love how you explain everything so simple, but I do still struggle to do it in a game. Of course, it's much harder to... It's easy... Well, it's not even easy to know what to do, but it's really hard to execute it in a game, because you have to pay attention to so many things. When you check replays, it's always very easy to point out mistakes and such things, because you don't have to focus on sailing the ship, aiming and so forth. You can focus on everything around you. Are you going to make this a regular thing? Yes, well, my viewers really wanted me to do it quite every now and then, so I will be doing it every now and then. Well, they wanted me to do it regularly, but I'll do it whenever I feel like doing it. Do I have a lot of replays? No, I don't think I have any right now, so I'll just check yours next. Note that closing the distance with the Lexington is risky in the sense that he has a shorter distance to strike you. If he's smart, he actually tries to drop you at this point, because if he kills you, he can maybe push straight into B. But there's 1 minute 40 left. Luckily, the carrier does not seem to be going for you. Luckily, the Shores is also not sailing into B. Two things that could win them the game. So yeah, going straight for A is not a bad decision. He will drop you, but with one bomb he needs some really good luck to get a hit. And that's fine. Note that you can shoot already, because you gotta keep in mind, you don't need to wait for the lock-on to shoot. You can shoot already, because your shells will start landing where he's sailing regardless. So, could have easily started shooting way before the lock-on was even active.
So,
yo,
right.
Doing some yeah, well, I'm actually not playing now. I'm doing some replay analysis because the replays are actually working for a change.
I was just sitting around hoping you would, the replays wouldn't work.
Yeah, hug the island.
I hope they break again.
Force him to go around. You always want to keep your nose pointed at the planes if they get around to you. Slowing down here isn't a bad decision at all. 30 seconds.
If you decide to do randoms, I'll play.
Roger?
I'll be somewhere above.
Yeah, I might do it in a bit. I think I'm going to cover a few replays, since I was meant to do this a couple of days ago, but the replays for some reason were completely glitched out and wouldn't work.
Yep. Alright.
Angle, 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 angle. Don't let those torp bombers drop you from front, because that's a high chance of like getting a hit. Okay, luckily he didn't drop you there. Oh, he did. Did you die? I think you died, and the game crashed. Let's see. What other links do we have? Okay, let's see. We got Deathbringer, who was the first one. I'm gonna open a bunch of links here. Wargaming coding, indeed. Let's see. Average game in the Prinz Eugen. I think, did I try to open this earlier and it wouldn't work? Let's see if it works now. Prinz Eugen is a pretty interesting ship in the sense that it's fucking garbage. So it's not that easy to play. You can play it perfectly and you'll probably still struggle simply because it's such a bad ship. KVC, thank you for the sub. Much appreciated. Let's see. Oh, nice. This Prinz Eugen replay is actually working. That's nice. Average game in Eugen is 15k damage. Well, let's see. First of all, matchmaking, pretty damn good. If you don't get tier 10 in a tier 8, you should be straight up happy. Battleship-wise, the Amagis are a threat, because they're very, very dangerous at all ranges. Gneisenau's not really that bad at long range. I mean, you need a lot of bad luck for them to get the good hits. So, overall matchmaking pretty good. You're running Hydro, so you lucked out on the matchmaking. No carrier, and you got Hydro already, so that gives you a lot of options. Now, first things first. Cruisers, you rarely want to play aggressive. The only time you want to play aggressive in a cruiser is if there's cover and you're a radar cruiser, because then you want to push in and put that radar to use. A Prinz Eugen, pushing straight into C from the beginning, probably not a good decision. You don't know what they have yet, you don't know what kind of enemy forces. If they all push C and you decide to push into C, you'll die very, very quickly, and you'll have no score, no damage, nothing to show off. So, supporting your Kagero is fine, but you gotta be careful here. Note, look at the minimap. If you go past this island here, if you put yourself on the left side of this island, and battleships get spotted here, where do you turn? Where do you turn? The island will block your turn to the right. Your island will block the turn to the right like this. So you'll be stuck sailing full broadside all the way here, while they can all pelt you. So the only option you'll have is to keep pushing even deeper, and then you'll probably get trapped. So going around the left-hand side of this island right now, I wouldn't do this. This is too dangerous. Straight up too dangerous. And you got spotted, just as I mentioned. You're forced to turn to the right. You're forced to give broadside. Everything that I just predicted is coming true right now. And that's a problem, because if they do have battleships here, you will be extremely fucked right away. And there's AP coming in. That was luckily not battleship AP, it seemed. And it seems you got fairly lucky, and it seems like none of the Amagis are here. And this was luck. Okay, this was straight up luck, because this position you put yourself into from the get-go was awful. Hugely dangerous. The Z-23 for some reason decides to keep pushing and fighting instead of just smoking up and disengaging. So once again, good for you. Quite lucky that these guys didn't show up here and blap you. So these kind of risks, I don't like them. You shouldn't take risks when the game has just started. That's a good way to end the game with like 10k damage and instantly dying. So not recommended at all. That was... always keep in mind, whenever you push anywhere... Oh, there was an Amagi, but he didn't shoot. Wow. Well, I wish my Amagis treated me like that. Keep in mind, whenever you push somewhere, you want, especially in a cruiser, you want to have an escape route. Once again, if you keep pushing now, where's your escape route? If you keep pushing, look at the minimap, where's your escape route? You can't turn to the right if you push any deeper. So do you really want to keep pushing deeper right now? If this Amagi starts to focus you, where the hell do you go? Risky. Once again, really risky. See, this blocks... you don't want to end up in positions that force you to make predictable maneuvers. And this entire sailing pattern is not recommended at all. He's giving broadside, you're switching to AP, that's good. Because of course German AP does a lot of damage against any cruisers, or any broadsides. You don't want to aim for the lower belt, you want to aim a bit higher, which you're actually doing, that's good. You don't want to try to pen the citadel belt, that's way too tanky. You want to aim slightly above it, so you pen the upper belt armor around here. I think you could have stopped back here and shot her this island and stayed undetected. Because if you push up now, yes, you'll be able to shoot, but yes, you will also get spotted in return. Risky, risky. You saw his guns were pointed your way. You're lucky that he doesn't decide to focus you now, because there's high chance he'll keep pushing this way and he will focus you. Instead though, he shot some York behind you. Fiji is giving not quite broadside, but yeah, he's giving you some free damage basically. He's giving you a lot of free damage, in fact. Well, he's in a bad position. Basically, he did the same thing you did. He pushed in really deep. But unlike you, you have a team pushing. He doesn't have a team pushing. So he's forced to disengage, and he's in a really shitty position because of that. So this guy's Fiji is basically a mirror of what could have happened to you by pushing in like that and not knowing what was actually waiting for you. At this point, I would probably switch to HE on the Fiji, because the Fiji is not shooting, which means that he's trying to get undetected. If someone tries to get undetected, try to switch to HE and try to set fires on them, because fires will increase their detection significantly, and that's exactly what you want to be doing when someone is trying to flee from you. Okay. He actually started returning fire. Questionable, but no one is actually spotting him, so... So now we know, Amagi is here. Do you want to YOLO him? I probably wouldn't. Because if this Fiji is smart, he parks here, and if you go around here, he just starts hammering you. So you're forced to angle against the Fiji, and you end up in a crossfire. Amagi here, Fiji here. Not a recommended position. If you slow down though, you might be able to shoot him from behind this island. Oh, you shot a bit early maybe? No, now you're fine. This is a good position. Actually, never mind, Atago is spotting you. Shaky position, very shaky. You gotta keep in mind, Amagi can overmatch the nose armor of Prinz Eugen. So if you try to go nose in, he can blap you straight through the nose. The question is, do you want to keep chasing? And I think you have already chased a bit too far. At this point, maybe spam some HE, set some fires, but start trying to turn your ship around and support B. Because if we look at the minimap, your team has abandoned A completely. They've gotten overrun. On the other hand, you have rolled over C. The enemy is committing a huge mistake right now. They are pushing into your spawn. This is great for you. The problem is, your team is also on the verge of committing that very same mistake, pushing into the enemy spawn instead of moving to B. So right now you kind of want to be a leading example, and instead of chasing people who are fleeing in your spawn and being useless, you should move towards B and try to secure it. So at this point, this position you're in is becoming less and less valuable by the second, and you want to reposition really, really badly. You're also only able to use 2 guns because of the angle you're sitting at, and Hipper and Eugen DPM is garbage to begin with. So if you have a garbage DPM and you're only using half of that garbage DPM, you are being quite useless. So just, it's time to get moving. Probably should have got the moving a couple minutes earlier and just abandoned this farming thing. Luckily the Amagi is pretty retarded, and I think he will go down. That's good. Fiji, shouldn't bother with him, let the Fiji go. You're so far on the flank though that it's going to be pretty hard for you to maneuver your ship around. I guess you have to sail around this and then around here. So we can guess by the time you're actually useful again, I think the timer will be around 11, maybe even 10 minutes. So I'm pretty sure because of your position to go so far to the flank, you're going to be completely useless for several minutes now. And this is of course something you want to mitigate. You want to minimize these situations where you find yourself unable to shoot, unable to tank, unable to be any sort of asset to your team. Because as long as you're on this flank, your team is fighting one person down. You're not contributing to the battle at all. And that's always the downside of pushing flanks. If the team gets rolled, the enemy team gets killed, you're suddenly miles away from any position, and it's really hard to be useful. French cruisers excel at going for flanks, and that's because they have such incredible speed that they can quickly rejoin the battle and be useful again. But Eugen, yeah. Eugen isn't really one of these ships. What did I say? 10 minutes? 10 minutes until you're useful? Or at 10 minutes you'll be useful again. It's been now 1.5 minutes, so I assume, based on my prediction earlier, that I think my prediction will be pretty correct. So between the Amagi dying, about 3 minutes of being completely useless. So that's, considering a game lasts 20 minutes, we're talking about 15% of the game time being completely useless. So it's a pretty damn big deal when you find yourself this out of position. So generally try to avoid it. Could you have shot this Amagi maybe from here instead? A more central position and shot him from here instead? And then you could have rejoined the battle earlier? Probably. Game is fairly even. They've lost all their DDs, which is an advantage for you. Then again, you've lost all yours, but for cruisers like when the DDs go down. Because when the DDs go down, you can utilize your concealment advantage over battleships significantly better. Whereas if DDs are around, it equalizes concealment across the board. And that of course favors battleships more than it favors cruisers. We're soon at 10 minutes when I predicted you'll be useful again. Yeah, I think you're just about to get in range of someone, maybe. Maybe. Luckily these two are chasing your Queen Elizabeth. That's really good for you, because you might have been useless down here, but they're being useless down here, so it kind of evens out in that sense. Your team is being... well, they're blowing around B, which is actually excellent, because this cap isn't under threat at all. So your team focusing on B is fantastic for you, because that's exactly where they should be. They should be fighting for B. So, surprisingly useful team positioning right now. And we're at 9:30, still not been able to shoot. You might be able to reach the Bayern, maybe. Maybe. So it looks like we're ending up with about 4 minutes it took to sail all the way from here back here. before being useful again. So that's 20% of the game, just trying to get into a position. So obviously, I doubt I have to mention it, that means that your initial positioning was extremely sketchy. And probably should avoid the flanks, especially in slow cruisers. Because finding yourself that away from the battle for that long is not good. Risky. Risky broadside. Where was the Amagi's guns pointed? Did you see the Amagi shoot? I don't think I saw him shoot, did he? I wasn't paying attention. Did the Amagi shoot or not? Hopefully he shot before your turn. Once again though, situation we spoke of earlier. You have an island on your right, meaning you can't angle away. Luckily this Bayern isn't interested in shooting you, because if this Bayern was interested in shooting you, you'd be stuck in a crossfire. The enemy team is fleeing. That's great for your team, because the more time they waste fighting outside of the caps, the harder you're winning the game. Trading equally when you have a point advantage is also fine, so if one of your team dies but you kill one in return, once again, that's perfectly fine. Amagi is enjoying that German AP. You're still full HP though, which means that you can probably afford to play fairly aggressive right now. There's really nothing stopping you. And the problem is, because you positioned yourself exactly where your team is, you're surrounded just like your team is. So getting rid of some of the threats would be preferable. In fact, maybe get undetected for a second, turn your guns to the right and deal with the Bayern threat first. Because as long as the Bayern is here, your team can't give broadsides this way, because the Bayern can blap them. Amagi is of course the major threat right now. Gneisenau at that range, unlikely to do too much. Amagi is absolutely the biggest threat. The Gneisenau is closing the distance though, and he is angled, so switching to HE and maybe burning down his last 9k health might be good at this point. Get into the Edinburgh smoke. No, Edinburgh smoke will run out. Okay, no HE switch. Are you sure about this? Because this guy's getting very close now, and you still don't have you still haven't started working on him. Now you're the only target. Full speed, get behind the island. You need to get behind the island into cover. Oh, that's a risky turn. That's a risky fucking turn. Holy shit. You get not punished as much as you probably should have gotten punished for that turn. And you actually get away, but pushing it, when you see them pushing towards you and you're pushing into them, you need to start considering escape routes. Pop the plane so you get vision of the York. Pop your fighter plane. Should absolutely pop the fighter plane, so that if they try to shoot you from behind the island, you get vision of them. It's probably further away than 11 kilometers, significantly so, but the battleship could probably be spotted. The Galissonier could probably be spotted. Plane goes up now, and now you're finally working on the Gneisenau. That's good. But the Gneisenau should probably have been burned to death a bit earlier. And the game does end, which is probably good, because I don't know how dangerous that push could have been to your team. Things to take away. Early positioning, I hated it. I hated everything about the early game. No offense meant, but everything about how the early game was played, I hated it. Putting an island on your escape route, meaning you couldn't escape if you got focused, almost got you punished twice, you luckily didn't. And pushing the right-hand flank when the majority of the enemy team was pushing the other cap, meaning you had to spend 4 minutes just sailing back to be useful again, once again, didn't like it. So, key things to take away from that game would be positioning. Pay attention to your islands around you, don't put yourself in a position you can't escape, and most importantly, try to plan ahead a bit. If the enemy team dies, what do you do then? How do you become useful again? Okay, let's see, what was the next game? A Scharnhorst short game. Let's check a Scharnhorst game. Nice. These replays are working again. Feels good, man. Alright, let's see. Scharnhorst game. Tier 8 matchmaking, pretty expected. Ranger, Scharnhorst is pretty good AA and handles fairly well. Shouldn't be too much of a threat. Battleship wise, a lot of firepower. 2 secondary battleships and King George. Yeah, they have a lot of firepower, so pretty nasty comp in that sense. Graf Spees are garbage though. They are exceptionally bad at dealing with battleships. Unless they get torps off, so that's good. York, not too much of a threat. Mogami can burn you down, but Mogami is also a good target to shoot at. No real torpedo boats. That's an advantage for you. D. Jerry Cook, thank you for the sub. Much appreciated. So, not the worst matchmaking. I mean, it's pretty okay, actually. Pretty good matchmaking in that sense. Okay, initial thing, I hate that you're going to D, even though your only destroyer is going to A. You want to support your destroyers. You want to help your destroyers. Destroyers scout for you, they see torp, they see destroyers, they see cruisers. They help you by spotting. So you should be helping them by killing potential foes to them. And going the opposite way if you're only DD, I don't like it. That's already sketchy. I understand that you're in a division with a carrier though, so I assume your carrier has agreed to scout D for you. But this always leaves the risk that more people lemming train with you, and the DD doesn't get enough support, and the DD gets killed because of it. And losing your only DD is not a good way to start a game. Carrier should probably be sending something to help this destroyer, but that's carrier gameplay. He doesn't need both his fighters here before you've even seen what they have here. One fighter should be scouting for the DD, help him out. I mean, come on, it's your only DD, guys. You want to, this guy can win you the game. You want to be helping him. You're getting some early scouting. Minsk is here, which means most likely the Gaeta is on the other flank. Okay, that's pretty okay. Possible both are here as well, you don't know. Maybe could have taken some shots at the Minsk there, because why not? Are you concealment build? Your concealment build, 13.1. So honestly, no real risks in opening fire on him. Maybe reset the cap, maybe punish him a bit, maybe get some lucky pens. Just punish. Am I going to be playing anymore? Yes, I will be playing. I think I'll save some replays for tomorrow or so after this. I feel like playing a bit as well. So, see, this is where the problem comes. How do you deal with this Minsk now? You could be pushing this flank right now with your Shiratsuyu scouting. Instead, you're kind of stuck here, not really doing much. And that's why I always like following the DD into the camp. There's a guy headed there. Hope he's got enough support. Full broadside Graf Spee. Well, he was full broadside, he's angling. Can punish him a bit. Should probably keep pushing. Maybe go wide on the flank here. Just try to get some pressure on this flank because the enemy team seems to be fairly evenly split. Whereas your team isn't really doing much. They're kind of sitting here. But when they sit here, they provide a firing angle. If your team provides a firing angle, it's up to you to provide the other firing angle. So in this case, go wide. That way you get a crossfire. One shoots from here, one shoots from here. Makes it hard for the enemy team to angle. Note that you could probably damage con this fire without too many issues, because the Mogami was disengaging and you were unspotted. Still a bit risky, of course, always damage conning one fire, but something to keep in mind. Graf Spee, it's citadels, nothing new there. The two battleships are pushing. The problem is, your team is not really that eager to push this flank. Once again, that's because you have no DD on this flank, and they have a DD. And inherently, randoms will rarely push into destroyers. They don't want to. It's scary. They're afraid. So at this point, we can already see the majority of your backup has been disengaging. So keep this in mind. What started as an even fight on this flank is quickly turning extremely uneven. You're down to your Turpitz buddy, and even the Indianapolis is bailing. So you are 2 versus, what, 6? You're 2 versus 6. So at this point, already start considering, maybe start turning away. Stopping and going stationary, risky, very risky. You don't know what this Mogami is doing. Has he pushed close to the island? He could start farming you across over the island right now and dealing massive damage to you. You don't know. What about this Graf Spee? Has he positioned here? Could he start farming your broadside as well? In general, if your entire team bails, you should start taking more defensive positions. Get ready to start kiting away, get ready to disengage. Because if they suddenly grow some balls, if they suddenly realize just how outnumbered you two are, you can get overrun extremely quickly. Luckily these guys really want to give you a lot of broadside, so you're able to punish them very heavily for that. Oh, no, 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 I don't push in. Do not push in. I hate this move. The Mogami I spoke about, he's actually, it looks, that might have been him, might have been King George as well, but no, 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 stop this push. Ooh, boy, no. There's not enough words to explain the no-ness of this decision right here. You do not want to fucking push in. Here, because now the Mogami, the King George, they're all starting to open up. The closer you get, the more fucked you get at this point. I did mention this Mogami threat like a minute ago, 2 minutes ago, that he might move here and farm you, and it's happened now. You need to be aware of these threats, and now you're really fucked. You're really fucked. Full speed, hard left, use the island as cover, and turn away and start kiting. It's time to get the fuck out of this position. This position already became weak 3 minutes ago, and it's weakening explosively quickly now. The Minsk is pushing in. You have to deal with him now. Is he gonna smoke? Let's hope he doesn't smoke, because if he smokes, then he's a constant threat you have to worry about. Let's hope he tries to rush like an idiot. Okay, he seems to be rushing like an idiot. Thank God, it's much easier to deal with the DD that does that. Much easier to deal with the DD that suicides in than it is with one who takes their time and just annoys the shit out of you all game. Shoot. Unfortunate. Well, you got pretty lucky with 4 pens earlier. But you should have kept turning. Should have kept turning. You can't turn back in. Well, not, his torps are too fast. And you're dead. Yeah. Things to take away from this replay. Map awareness. Map awareness. Should have taken that away significantly earlier. As soon as your teammates started bailing, it was time for you to start positioning yourself so you can kite. You cannot push into this kind of numerical advantage. Look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with the Minsk. You were 2 versus 7 on this flank. Your team has already reached A, the backup you had. So, in this case, number one thing to take away is map awareness and recognizing when a situation might turn sour. In this case, this thing turned sour very quickly and you should have been angled away to kite away. Because this guy's gonna die, almost guaranteed, and this flank is now blown wide open and they might even push in and get a flank on these guys as well. Right, let's see. Fast game is not fast fun. Let's see. Well, this was the Scharnhorst game. I covered that one. Let's see, are they still around?
Channel switch.
I'm just pushing
Oh,
hard.
so you started a division? And it's fine.
I'll still come join you though after this.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
So
I'll
I
probably
said I would play with you first, so.
okay. I'll probably finish that one. I'll start up the client now anyway. So take your time.
Channel switched.
But yeah, a couple of replay analysis.
User joined your channel.
Hello?
Hello.
You have a spot?
Yep. Eva will join us in a bit. I think he's finishing a game there. We can probably play one in between.
Okay, let me log in.
Roger. But yeah, you might notice a trend, chat, with these replays. You might notice a trend, and the trend is map awareness. It's one of the hardest things to learn. Positioning and map awareness. It's the two hardest things. Learning to aim, learning to angle. These things you can learn pretty quickly. You get the basics pretty quickly. But positioning and map awareness are extremely hard. And you can play thousands of games and still have issues with it.